Here.
Tim Ewens,
Yes.
Dave Elliott,
Here.
Kirk Hart,
Here.
Brian Holt,
Here.
Robert Nelson.
Here. To stand with me for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Comments tonight from the chair. There were no comments from the public. Consent agenda. Approval of agenda 5.
So, John, at this point, that's where I need to make a motion.
Correct. Yes.
I need to move that we amend our agenda for this evening to add under action discussions items, item C, presentation of Bourbon County Neighborhood Revitalization Plan information. That was really hard to say.
You want to read that again?
Oh, my God.
That was a motion.
That was
Presentation of
Bourbon County Neighborhood, hard word that I can't say, revitalization plan information.
Okay. It's been moved. Do I hear a second? I'll second. Okay, Julie, would you call for the vote?
Elliott,
Yes.
Ewens,
Yes.
Hart,
Yeah.
Holt,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Bartlesmeyer.
Yes. Okay. Item B, approval of minutes of previous meetings attached to the minutes of the regular board meeting conducted on December 12th, 2022. Approval of treasurer's report, bills and claims. Attached are the treasurer's report and the bills and claims report. Approval of personnel actions, separations. Abby Schwab, admissions representative, and effective. You got me going, Dave.
It's all my
Effective
fault.
January 13th, 2023. Chelsea Goff, assistant cheer / dance coach, effective January 15th, 2023. Tommy Myers, CTEC director, effective January 20th, 2023. Approval of Gordon Parks board member actions, additions, Destry Brown, effective January 9th, 2023. Separations, Eloise Young, effective December 31st, 2022. Item F, approval of Institute for the Development of Educational Advancement, IDEA, board members. Additions, Alicia Johnston, Dave Elliott, Julie McDaniel, Cindy Bartlesmeyer, John Farrell. It is recommended that the consent agenda item be approved as presented. Is there any discussion? I'll entertain.
This would also approve the agenda as amended.
Yes. Okay. Is there any discussion? If none, I'll entertain a motion. So move.
Second.
Julie, would you call for the vote, please?
Ewens,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Holt,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Bartlesmeyer,
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes.
Yeah. Action and discussion items. Item A, approval of the 2023-24 academic calendars. Following are the 2023-24 academic calendars for Main Campus and Crawford, Lynn, and Miami counties. It is recommended the board approve both the 2023 academic calendars for their respective locations. Adam?
Yeah, so on the academic calendars, it's very similar to what we did this year. The goal on the Bourbon County calendar would be to end before Thanksgiving, as we did this year in the fall. So spring is going to be exactly the same. We're just looking at differences on the fall. So main campus and online would end at Thanksgiving holiday, while anything that is considered CTE within Fort Scott, so that would include welding, nursing, allied health, and John Deere. Those would be our 4 programs on main campus or within Fort Scott that would go in a traditional calendar and would end the 8th of December. And then all alternate locations would also end the 8th of December. So very similar to what we did this year to help out with our dorm students, saving them a little bit of financial strain and financial burden, not having to come back for a couple of weeks. And we did we looked at all of our athletes' GPA from last semester to this semester, or I guess fall of 2022 compared to fall of 2021. And there was not a statistically significant difference at all. It was very, very minimal difference. So that's why the calendar is, that's why we have 2 calendars to help support our students who are dorm students and travel quite a bit.
Well, when we had the COVID thing, we changed it and that you determined that worked better. I mean, when we changed the calendar.
For some programs, for some general education programs, yes. And for our students, it did work better from a financial perspective, absolutely. And we don't see any difference on a grading perspective or a scores in the classroom sort of thing.
Okay.
Any comments from students?
All students, when we got student feedback, were very supportive of it, with the exception of students in the nursing program. And the students in the nursing program thought that they needed a little bit of extra time that they did not have in this semester, which is why one of the other reasons why we put nursing on the more traditional calendar.
We put out a survey,
Yes.
and if 80-some% came back in favor.
Yeah, it was like 83–85% in favor, and those that were not in favor were typically your technical education specific to nursing. So
I have just a fast question since we turn out at the end of Thanksgiving and do not come back until January what?
9th or 10th would be the day classes. Yeah.
Okay. It's 3 weeks. First, this year we had a problem with Garrison.
Mhm.
Was that because the temperature was turned off in those rooms or?
No, it wasn't turned off, but I think the problem was kind of down your line of thinking. There was nobody in there that was aware that we had a leak, or that basically it was frozen up. And so when it thawed, we didn't catch it.
Or
No, there's a pipe that runs down the outside of the building, which Jared and them are going to reroute that. And so hopefully we won't have as many issues. The thermostat was turned down, but it got, of course, as you all know, super cold Christmas Day. So Monday was the day after Christmas. Jared drove by and of course there was nothing. Well, then we had enough temperature, or we had a heat wave. It started thawing out, and then he drove by on Tuesday and water was running out in the parking lot.
okay.
So the problem was we didn't have anybody there to say, hey, my pipes are frozen, we gotta get this taken care of. So,
Well,
so it does kind of
that's
lead
my
to the
only
fact that they
question.
were
We
out.
didn't-
But even with the other calendar, they would have been out. So
I think it's a good thing to be off right after Thanksgiving. But if that's the case, these places off campus, we maybe need to be
Check
able
on
to
that.
access.
Monitor in some way.
Yeah,
I agree.
Maintenance, even when we leave for Christmas and are totally off campus, they schedule a staff member to make the walkthrough of all the buildings every day. It just,
yeah.
we didn't
Well,
catch that,
yeah.
but then until it thaws, you don't catch it
Yeah.
to know that
But
it.
we have these off.
They make those
campus.
too, that's where they found it,
Okay,
you know. Billy was the one that found it that particular day.
okay.
We will,
That probably made his day.
yeah, yeah. We will continue to monitor not only that, but also is it really working for students? One of the things that it's an advantage for, we believe, but we don't, that's kind of anecdotal at this point, is the interim courses. Because we have a lot of interim courses, so we have students They need to pick up some credit hours so they can get certified on an athletic roster or be able to graduate, you know, we have students that want to come down and pick up a class or two, they're all online. Like K-State, KU kids, whatever, and so we can have a little longer. Basically break or interim where they can take those inter classes, and so that's been working pretty well, that interim session.
And to touch on that, so our intercession classes used to start right at the end of the traditional semester. And they would run like typically December 11th through January 8th or 9th. And now they're running from the Monday after Thanksgiving to the Friday before Christmas.
Yeah.
So there's a tradition, there's a very clear breaking line there, and the students don't have to be involved in those classes. Intercession classes take quite a bit. You know, they're 4-week online, and the time per day is significant in each of those.
And you wouldn't think it would matter, but for a lot of kids, they need to show that on that fall transcript. They need to get a copy of that transcript and send it on to the next place. And so it's really important that they get that on before Christmas if they're wanting to move on and they're needing those hours on that transcript. So. Logistics thing.
And the only other change in the calendar is starting math relays back up in November, and that would be one of those items that would happen after the Thanksgiving break, but before the Christmas break. So
I have no other questions.
Any other points of discussion? I'll entertain a motion.
So move.
Second.
Ben moved. Ben moved. Second. Julie, would you call for the vote, please?
Hart,
Yes.
Holt,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Harlesmeyer,
Yes.
Elliott, Hewens,
Yes.
Item B, consideration of heavy equipment simulators purchase. Fort Scott Community College has applied for and received approval of a grant for heavy equipment for $800,103 from the Department of Commerce ARPA funds, ARPA funds. Previously, in the September board meeting, an agenda item was presented and approved for CAT simulators of $675,664.24. Work has continued on the required grant documentation, and it has come to our attention that we need to spend the entire approved amount of $800,103 to receive the grant. Attached is an update quote for additional simulators in the amount of $799,077.12 dated 12/9/22. Given the fluctuating market for electronic equipment, we believe there could be a price increase that will move our expected expenditure higher. Administration is asking for the board to approve a total amount of $800,103 for heavy equipment simulators purchase.
So when we approved in September, we initially went to CAT simulators and asked them for 8 simulators, believing that what they had quoted us would be approximately what it would come back on the official RFP. They were quite a bit under what they had quoted us. For the 8 simulators, we said it would be right around 800,000. It was 675,000. All of it is grant funds, and so the Department of Commerce requires it to be $800,103 for us to receive the grant. So we talked to CAT simulators. They provided us with a new quote, official quote with 2 more simulators that brought it up to $799,077. What we're asking for is approval of the $800,103. So the Department of Commerce can see that we have approval for all of those funds. Should there be a shipping item or something like that, increased cost of technology, etc. So we need the documentation to show that, yes, we have actually expended all of the funds and that we're not leaving the state of Kansas with money that they have to send back to the federal government in the tune of $125,000.
Does everybody understand that?
So it's 8 simulators.
It's 10 now.
Oh, 10.
8 was the original.
8, okay.
And that's where the 675 came from. When we talked to them on the front end, the thought was each simulator total is gonna be about $100,000. Well, the simulators came in less than that. So we were able to go back to them and say, if we were to, what can we get for 800,000? And so they gave us 2 more simulators for that 800,000, and they came in just under what the needed number is for the Department of Commerce for us to receive the grant funds.
And what's their time frame?
We have to have it expended by
In June.
end of June.
We have to have the grant materials in by the end of this week,
So we're gonna get these simulators pretty fast.
Yes,
hopefully.
yes, we hope so.
Yes. I was wondering if one of you two could talk about, we've talked about the possibility of making a mobile simulator with one of the airlines.
That's when we talked to him, I don't know, did you get one like on wheels? Like he brought in.
Yeah, I think they're all gonna be on.
Okay, so I think they're all mobile where we could have an enclosed trailer. And, you know, if it's an event for an elementary school or a high school for them to get to see it, then turn around and you're selling the program to. I guess it'd be a great recruiting tool as well. Not to say that they wouldn't be in the classrooms, but you know, if we had a day where we were gonna take 1 or 2 to. High school and let the high school students experience it a little bit and then go from there.
They've got the actual, what do you call that?
The joystick, everything is.
OCMs.
OCM.
OEM.
OEM.
So everything is identical to what it would be if you got onto a cat piece of equipment.
This is what they had in Pleasantville.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And where will these be?
So Stars and C-Tech both have heavy equipment going now. But I was talking to Jim, even if we look at something that Fort Scott High School wants with 10, we would easily be able to divide up into 3s and move one back and forth if we.
Where the need is like.
Correct, yeah, right now,
Okay.
because we've started those there, and that's a conversation as we get things going with Fort Scott High School. On the construction side, I can see it being a very easy add, and then we would have enough that you'd have 3 in all 3 locations. So, it actually, I think.
So how many pieces of equipment can you simulate?
A lot. I mean, they have different modules and different controls that go. We ordered, I'd have to go back, well, is it in there?
I think I've got it.
But I think we did a couple of front loaders.
2 excavators.
There you go. So
Okay.
we didn't get everything that you're capable of doing, but
2 backhoes.
we got enough to where we had 1 or 2 that we would swap between campuses as we need them. So like the road grader and something else. We only got 1 maintainer grader and maybe 1 bulldozer, and then those could be, after 6 weeks, could be traded and moved around. So,
It's basically just the software that you load on that machine, so I can get software for bulldozer, excavator, back.
yeah.
Maintainer.
But
And some of those controls change.
The controls change too, but they're
They're
inter.
modular in nature, so he'll come in with a joystick for your excavator, and then he'll take that out and put in something different when you're running the front loader.
But supposedly the fact that they're actual OEM, so like it really
Yeah,
wouldn't.
the same
The
handle.
handles are the same as you would see in a cat dozer.
All the switches and controls, and then it comes with a great curriculum for like pre-trip. We were talking earlier, one of the students was on the sim at Stars, then went out to go run the skid steer. Like, hey, you need to tighten those belts up. So it's that pre-trip, like, what should I be looking for when I approach what? If I see an issue, I need to have it looked at before I start operating. It's all of that goes with it as well. So it's, the curriculum, I think, is really strong. The controls would be strong, and then to be able to supplement that with donations from Crossland and Costs, which I just found out about, which I'll talk about later, where they actually get on real equipment as well.
So it's $800,103 a grant from Commerce, and then we match it with industry donations of $800,103. So it's $1.6 million we can inject into the program without costing students, taxpayers, or anybody a dime.
That's very cool.
So how do I sign up to do one of these things?
We have classes available and you can enroll it.
Since you're Bourbon County, you get Bourbon County waivers.
Oh. When we get it in.
Brain is thinking here, what about community service? We've got Bourbon County here. Which they operate a lot of heavy equipment.
I think we could definitely do some of the business and industry stuff. I mean, we've talked a little bit before, several years ago, about possibilities of how we could work together to do some training, and this would be another opportunity once we have it in. If you guys hire somebody new to, hey, let's work out something and come do some training on the stuff we have before you put them on an expensive piece of equipment that you might be concerned about, so.
Well, we're going to be concerned with the trail, but not going home and teach someone or monitor what they're doing.
Right.
And we have every piece of equipment you had just mentioned.
Yeah, and that's,
We can work out a program together.
no, that's a great partnership, in my mind, for sure.
Now, does every penny of that $800,103 have to be spent by the grant? And if so, then what if hypothetically, if the bill is $100,102? Do we lose the grant?
No,
So,
that's where that extra money.
funds that out
Yeah.
for a dollar.
All the board members.
We will find a way, because, you know, the way that those donated funds, we will find a way to meet that 100. And then maybe somebody like a cross fund could kick back $1 to themselves, or not kick back, that's the wrong word, but use their donation by a third. So.
Jason, you did not hear the word.
Not the one next minute, Jason. Wow.
Let us rephrase that. Okay,
What's the timing on this? I mean, we get done with this, it's approved and you guys.
We have to have all of our documentation into the Department of Commerce by Thursday.
oh, and once they have it, it's pretty quick
The
turnaround.
way I understand it, we would get half
Couple
of,
of schools got their check.
we would get half of the money to start purchasing, and then once we've spent that, then they send us the other half.
Now, is that sort of like, we have to put down earnest money or whatever you want to say to the cat company or whoever we get these from, or it's just
No.
how it works?
It's just how it works. They know that we're using these funds for it, and when they're available, CAT has actually loaned us a simulator to keep at STARS for this, well, since October.
So that piece of equipment's still there.
Yeah, it's still there, and that's part of their donation to us,
Okay.
allowing some.
And we're counting that as the
Yeah.
match,
Okay,
part of it.
okay. Any more discussion, questions? I'll entertain a motion.
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. Julie, would you call for the vote?
Holt,
Yes.
Nelson,
Yes.
Bartlesmeyer,
Yes.
Elliott,
Yes.
Hewens,
Yes.
Hart,
Yeah.
Item C, Dave?
That is correct. That would be you guys.
That's me. Did you send this out to?
Yeah.
Okay,
They have been ready.
okay, all right, awesome. Well, my name is Matt Quick. I'm the Bourbon County appraiser. Here to talk to you about our NRP program, which is our neighborhood revitalization program. It's runs every 5 years, and our last one expired December 31st. So we're looking to re-up to redo it. It's been a great program here at the county level, and the city does one as well. We made a couple of changes to ours. It was that the value of the property, well, let me explain what it is to begin with. So let's say you have a bare piece of ground and you want to build a house on it. You can come in, sign up for a neighborhood revitalization plan, which will allow you to build your house, put what you want to on it. You fill out the paperwork. There's a $50 one-time fee. Okay, they bring in the first half of their paperwork when they start. They bring in their second half of the paperwork when they're finished. We go out and we appraise it. So if we go from a tax bill on a property that was $1,000, and now with this new improvement on there, it's $2,000, they will give back 95% of that $1,000 increase for 10 years. That's the rebate program. So they have to pay it up front, and then they'll get it back. And it just makes us for sure that we get the money ahead of time, so that's why they didn't pay it, that's why it's a rebate program. We don't just discount it on their taxes. The program was set up to, it had to be at least a $15,000 increase in value of the property. For residential and commercial. Our commissioners, Commissioner Harris and the other two decided that they wanted to lower that, so it is now $5,000 increase in value of the property. It doesn't have to be a house, it can be a shed, it can be an addition on a home, it can be, you know, anything that's gonna add value. I tell people, because a lot of people are like, well, I'll paint my house. Well, it was painted before, so you're trading like for like. So you're not really, you know, increasing the property. Now, if you go in and completely remodel a home that's, you know, that's ready to fall down, then that we do that as well. So that's something that they can qualify for this program. So on the commercial side of it, it's still $15,000 increase, which for commercial, that's a drop in the bucket for them. Most of them are going to do a lot more than that when they add something to their property. And there's a 10-year plan as well. So for you guys, it doesn't, one of the things we talked about was your budget and things like that. It doesn't take anything away from what you currently have, because it's all on what's coming, what they've added to the property. So that original $1,000 doesn't go away. They still pay that, and it still comes through the different mill levies, you know, the different entities. It's the new that you will not receive anything on that for that 10 years. So it's been a great program. I mean, we have people come in 2 to 3 times a week in our office to pick them up. Really through everything, the way the economy and everything is, we've had a lot of people still building houses, doing stuff on their properties and things like that. So it's a great program. We've had a lot of people participate. So all we're looking from is approval again. You guys approved before I got here, so I'm new to the process of getting approval and everything. It was done before I came to the appraiser's office. So I will get you more information that what you'd ask for as far as the numbers and what the actual cost of everything is. I'll get that to you guys, so you'll have it for the next, so that we can talk about it again. Is it February 20th or something like that? I think is the next meeting.
I think that's right, Matt.
yeah.
for your tweet.
Yeah, so have a little more information. Like I said, it's been a great program. People are really taking advantage of it. It's getting people to put work and stuff into their properties, you know, to improve them. And because, you know, I've heard it forever. Well, I'm not doing that to my property, you'll raise my taxes. Well, this allows them to do those improvements that they want to do and not, you know, be a big jump in their taxes for them. So anybody have any questions?
So this is Bourbon County.
This is just Bourbon County. You guys approved earlier last year, the cities, which
So
expired,
excluding the city.
excluding Fort Scott, but it includes Bronson, Fulton, Redfield, Uniontown, all of them are included in this.
Question.
Yeah.
Has our evaluation gone down on property?
No, last year from 21 to 22, it has gone up.
Well,
Assessed value.
on this new revitalization plan, it said that 2022 assessed valuation of Bourbon County is $96,375,000.
Right. Now that's just property. If you look at total, like we talked about in the meeting, commission meetings and stuff, that is that includes personal property and stuff like that in it as well.
Well, I have here, it says assessed evaluation in
2017.
2020 and 2021 at 110 million. 449,000, yeah, and then 21, 22, 114.
Right, and that's
20, 22, 23, 118, and then now I have here at 96 million.
right, and that's going to be, like I said, this is just real property. It doesn't include your personal property.
And these other numbers do.
Yeah.
Okay. Item 6. Letter D, you've got a term of the tax rebate will be 5. And then parentheses 10.
Oh, yeah, I just went through and made quick changes to this today. I'll have Justin Meeks go through and make sure all the legalities and everything are on this the way they're supposed to be. Yeah, I just did.
Which one is it?
It's 10.
10.
Yeah.
Okay, well, this is several times in here, this is,
It still has 5. No, I scanned it, trying to get it. So I could get it to you guys this afternoon, and I thought I made all the changes, but I probably missed some. Like I said, Justin makes go through and make sure everything is in and the way it's gotta be. Before we actually put this out.
Well, there were several,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
mistakes or, I guess. And I just saw this today at 4:30.
Yeah. Yeah,
So, I think you agreed to come back.
yeah,
at
yeah,
the
that's
next
not a
meeting
problem.
and
Yeah, that's not a problem.
Give us a chance. Well, I would like a new corrected copy as soon as possible.
Sure.
And I mean, the other board members, I think, would too.
Yeah.
I mean, I realize this is something that's, you know, worked really well. We obviously, I think we want to keep doing it, but I just think I prefer the correct numbers on here.
Sure. I can do that.
And did you say if? Where was it on here? Let's see, the January 1st, 2016 to December 31st, 2020.
Is that? I thought I corrected that. Jim.
Is that,
It'll be January 1st of this year through December 31st of 27. It's a 5-year.
but then did it stop in 2020? Has it been reapproved?
No, the last one said December 31st of 22.
Okay. Okay. Any more questions? Anybody? More questions?
Is it possible to withdraw your application from the 5-year and reapply?
Yeah, that's one of the things I told him after they changed it. I said, you got a lot of people mad that signed up for the 5-year. And now, yeah, now you changed it to 10 years. So I'll just direct them to them. Just call your local commissioner.
Should we send our highlighted stuff to Justin or?
Yeah, you can send it to me. You can send it to me.
Okay. Okay, well, I guess we're gonna table this until the next board
Yeah.
meeting.
There's no action.
Yeah, no action to be taken.
With the presentation.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you. Jim, do you have anything else to add or? No. Okay,
They want a new program, they need to build more.
yeah.
Once it's already applied for it, so. We'll get you twice.
Oh, good. Thank you all.
Thanks. Okay. Correspondence, or are we? This came back. That's okay. Okay, yeah, correspondence now. Is that right? So it's on my list.
Yeah.
This from Jerry.
Not, I mean, I don't have to read that
Okay.
from Jerry Moran, but that was just a letter. It's kind of funny because he had also visited, I can't recall, somebody in central Kansas somewhere whose last name was Johnson. And the first letter I got from the senator, I thought, "Ooh, I got the money for CDL." I opened it and it was to some group that he visited out there. Like, so I had Ally send them that letter and then they turned around and sent me back this letter that they had received. So I think it was the Johnston Johnson thing. Because the outside envelope was correct, but the letter inside was to the other individual. But it was just him talking about the day that he was down and had toured. So of course, we can talk about that later, but he then later called about the fact that we got the congressionally directed grant for the trucks. Excuse me, that were final purchase.
Okay, administrative update. Chris?
Absolutely. We were talking about our simulators and as we're working on the grant, the ARPA grant with HEO. Crossland committed to donate $157,000 worth of donation in kind. And I think the plan is for students to be able to go to their playground. They have a playground in Columbus where they've got equipment and open areas that our students could get on equipment. And it may be some equipment that they actually bring to CTech for us to get onto. And then Nakoma has been working with Cost Construction as well. And I think they're gonna do another grant, and this will all be part of matching that 800,000. And the more we get from them, the easier it is going to be for us. So, and then Next Generation Masonry did 137,000. Just in calculating bringing an excavator or mini excavator on campus for a week or a skid steer. And so we've got those donations coming. Which would be really good to have for getting it submitted and to match that. Our CDL program, we actually started with, we had some students started in November. Michael and I, our other trainer, wanted to get a group through to see where we were, the mistakes that we were going to make, if you will, or things that we'd overlooked, something like that. And so we had a few of those, but it worked out. Don Britton, so Brian Brunt came and presented at one point from the Department of Revenue. Don Britton is now taking the eastern half of the state. And so he came over and we tested our 3 students that we put through, and he worked with us and was very gracious and very helpful at helping us, because one of the mistakes we'd made was kind of significant for him. It was a learner's permit that had expired just prior to the student testing. So now you got to have learner's permit to test, and so we figured out what we needed to do, but he worked with us on all of that, said we were doing a great job, and all of our students passed. So we had a school bus driver pass. And then there were 2 students that came to us from Girard. One got their Class A and the other one did a Class B with air brakes. And so we're making progress on that. We're planning on, in this, our waiting list was down to 24 and now it's back up to over 50 again, which is a great problem to have. Michael's going to go ahead and start a class February 22nd with the truck we have, which we're finally getting it to where it needs to be. It's been real reliable and running well. So he'll start that. I may have a group for their school bus, depending on how that works. I've got a couple schools, 3 schools that have contacted me with that. And then I'll put together an RFP, which can be a little bit challenging in the vehicle world where, Aero Trucking, who I've talked to, may have the truck we're looking for today, but it could get sold tomorrow. But we'll get together an RFP. We have some ideas of what we're looking for. We initially thought 3 trucks, but I think with the funds that we have and what the cost of trucks right now and what we're looking for, while we're looking for some older vehicles because it's pre-emissions, you don't have to deal with DEF. It actually decreases the maintenance on them because all the filters and everything that goes with the diesel emission fluid can be problematic. It's just a more complex system. So looking for like pre-2007, but still looking for trucks that are going to look good and run good and be ready to go on the road for us. And we think if we do 4, we'll do a couple more standard transmissions, just day cabs. We do have the 2 seats installed into our original truck. We're gonna number our trucks. It's truck number 1, our original. But we've got a couple seats in it, so you could have 2 students riding while one's driving. And so we just want a couple of day cab manual transmissions, and then a day cab and an automatic, or day cab and a sleeper cab with an automatic transmission. We're going to have some students that aren't going to be able to figure out the shifting, and we can at least get them their CDL with an automatic restriction on it. And that was something that Brian Brunt had suggested. And having one of the things that both Michael and I have to do is he has to get his school bus passenger. I have to get a Class A CDL so I can do that test. So one of the things that I picked up starting to drive is you can get so focused on shifting, you forget you've got a big truck, turns are wider. And so we even thought starting the students out on an automatic to where they're learning, what's my turning radius? Let's get used to a big vehicle and everything, the blind spot. Then let's start shifting once you're used to driving that. So we have some different ideas. Trailer wise, we're looking at probably a couple more van or box trailers like we have, but then a flatbed and possibly a flatbed that we could put equipment on. Then at that point, if we're moving equipment from one campus to another, or if John Deere happened to need something, we would still be able to do it for more than just what our students are, so. We're looking at moving forward with that. And then Alicia shared an email with me, so we expect to get an email from the federal government in the next 5 to 7 weeks on those funds as they come through. So I'm not sure what the timing is. I'm just trying to get everything in place, knowing what type and style of vehicle I can write up in an RFP. And then I've talked to Vanderhaeg, which is out of, I think they're out of Iowa originally, but they've got a store in Kansas City. They're kind of a salvage yard and truck dealer of sorts, and trying to work with them too to see what they can do, because they can throw a wider net. So, but then even locally trying to look for just trucks in Kansas, which there's a good website for that. So I'll be working on that.
So I take it that they're moving toward automatic transmission.
Automatics are very, very common now. And those are,
15 speed or.
yeah. Yeah, so more and more they're seeing automatics, but a lot of people want to get it with the manual transmission, so they're not restricted.
Yeah.
Just an automatic. And you know, we're looking at 10 speeds or like a super 10. We don't need to have 18 gears for them to learn. Let's just keep it simple. But no, it's moving along really well, and we've got some things to do. I need to contact the county to see about starting to build our basic skills force. And another thing I had thought about is, as we've talked about, if I've got, I know I have people in Iola that are interested, people in Fort Scott, if we're going to come up here, it would be easier for us to drive one truck here and drive locally than it would be to have 6 different people all have to drive down there. And so at some point, looking at a place we could put a basic skills course in Fort Scott, which would be beneficial to us wherever. We can drive 30 minutes up, practice on the basic skills, go back, or we can drive here originally with students. So that's something we're definitely looking into.
Sure. Sounds good.
Yeah. And then, of course, with Tommy leaving, I'll be the interim CTEC director here, put that hat back on. So we kind of figure out what direction. We have a board meeting with CTEC on Wednesday and could kind of regroup a little bit and go from there. But no, thanks.
On the CDL money, just to follow up on what Chris has said, and to again thank Chris and Adam and Michael. It really has been a heavy lift, not only the heavy equipment match, which has really been difficult, not difficult because we can do in-kind matches, but the way that the Department of Commerce wants the match documented has been quite a difficult process for us. But also with the CDL, just getting that off the ground, I greatly appreciate it. I had sent an email to Moran's office in Pittsburgh last week saying, hey, did I miss something? I still haven't seen anything about our congressionally directed grant, which of course is what we're paying for the trucks and trailers with. And then they sent me an email that said, well, so I got one from the federal government that said it'll be 5 to 7 weeks. I don't know if that 5 to 7 weeks began back. So I don't really know when that is. We were very hopeful that, we just want to be ready with an RFP so you guys can approve it. So when the money comes in, what happens is, of course, the money goes into our G5 account. And then we draw that money down from the federal government and spend it. So we just want to make sure that we're ready to go when the money gets there. But I greatly appreciate all of the work that these guys have put in to get it. We're anxious. The other thing that we want to do is make sure that we have enough money left that we can do some, I don't know if it's painting or what it is, but wrapping the trailers logos. So it doesn't say, Old Dominion or something on it. It says, Fort Scott Community College Trucking.
And I think most of the trucks will be blank. Jared has worked on a new logo for us, and that would be easy enough to get a vinyl to put on the door of each truck. But the trailers, looking at them, trying to make sure that they're white so that it's a blank canvas. We don't have to cover up Pennington Seed or something like that.
Because that's what that was.
Well, there's some company that's got a logo that says FCC on it, and every time I see it, I go, what's the? I don't know who it is, but gets me. Okay. All right, anyway,
So
Adam.
All right, I'll be brief.
we've had a couple more meetings with Fort Scott High School, so we're rolling out construction, going to be on site at Fort Scott next, in the fall, starting in the fall. We're gonna begin with 4 credit hours. So it's gonna be a kind of a slow rollout, a pilot rollout to knock out all the kinks in it. Good. And so it's gonna be a good, eventually they'll offer, we'll be able to offer 28 credit hours there. And so it's been approved by the 234 board as well with the curriculum and aligned to their building trades pathways. So it's gonna, which is beneficial on the secondary side for funding and that type of thing. That's not really my strong area. This first year, we're just going to have high school students to mark it out. So I need to get over to talk to Uniontown and see if they're interested in sending anybody over at this point, but it's going to be open the following year to all students. So that's what.
You mean any student?
Any student, yes, not just Fort Scott High School, but post-secondary students and other high school students as well. If Uniontown is wanting to send students over, they would be able to send students over. So while we've been working on that, we continue to talk about some other ways that we can work together. So, you know, we
234.
with 234,
Okay.
Discuss masonry. They're going to, I believe their math instructors and our math instructors will be meeting together to discuss some of the rollouts with the new gen ed package at the state level and some math pathway sort of thing, which is not every student's going to have to take college algebra model that the state's going to go to, which I fully support. And so we've been working together quite a bit. Our weekly meetings or bi-monthly meetings, whatever you want to call them, have been very productive. So I'm thankful that for Destry and Dr. Kimball and everybody at the high school that's been working with us.
Was that Kimball?
Scott Kimball.
Scott, yeah, nice guy.
Yeah, great to work there.
Yeah.
So
Will that be just at the high school?
it will be at the high school. Yep, we're gonna utilize the high school's building trades area. Still need you to go through it a little bit to kind of help us determine what we need. Yeah, where we're gonna put things and that type of thing with some new equipment, but yeah, it will be housed at the high school. So it's definitely a good thing moving forward. And then we're just working on several things. There's some changes coming down at the state level with general education package. So essentially, and what that means is by fall of 2024, if a student attends an institution in the state of Kansas, public institution, and completes what we're calling a K-4 core or a gen ed package of 34 to 35 credit hours. Once they've completed that at said institution, so let's say they complete it here, it transfers with no questions asked to any other institution in the state. So KU cannot go in and unpackage the deal and say, no, you took English 102, we need you to take business English. They can't do that anymore. So it will remove those barriers and should remove issues for students as well. And so we're working on those types of things. And then and we do a lot of reporting. So we're in that. iPads is due in 2 weeks. So we're trying to get that finished up. Concurrent enrollment report went to K-Board today. And the thing I wanted to mention out of our report, so cosmetology, John Deere and Harley Davidson are all back to have exceeded their pre-pandemic numbers at this point. So their cosmetology's enrollment is the highest that it's been in the last 8 years. So
This is at,
Fort Scott and Pittsburgh combined.
right, okay.
So they have we're filled to the brim with cosmetology students at this point. So, and like I said, John Deere is doing well and Harley is increasing steadily. So good. And I said I'd be short, so I'll stand for any questions.
We got a lot of acronyms in your report.
Sorry, and I can help with that. That's iPads is the secondary education data system.
I don't really
Integrated
know.
secondary.
Brian, I have a cheat sheet somewhere that I can find that has higher ed acronyms, and I'll send it to you when I find it.
Really this fall.
Really?
The construction, yes, yeah, this fall.
Not a request.
Just 4 hours, this is what we're starting with, so it's gonna be a slow rollout to make sure that we have everything in place, so.
That's a smart way to do it. That way you can tweak it as you go.
Well,
We've learned with other experiences that fast rollouts sometimes are.
well, and it helps the school with their scheduling. That's one of the challenges that, we will always run into is the high school bell schedule versus college classes. And so it kind of helps them adjust and start filling the pipeline as it goes too. So
In answer to the question that you might ask the high school, can't you be a little flexible with that?
it happens.
No, they've been great to work with.
That's good. All right. Is that it?
Yeah, that's all.
Julie?
Sure. There's a long report in there, but just some highlights. Financial aid has done some training to stay in compliance with VA and actually Elijah talked about downloading FAFSAs for 22-23, but they're also downloading FAFSAs for next year for 23-24, and so they are beginning to get that. Students are filing for that. Working on Bourbon County and COVID funds, making sure those are all correct. Maintenance, I think if there was anything I would say about Jared's report this month, I think he started dealing with contractors. He started the paperwork and he's wanting to give back to the tools and the grind, but he's done a lot of OCR compliance reporting there. Meetings with contractors as far as the sprinkler system and some updates we need to do that way. They have moved furniture and they're talking about the contractor for the HVAC at Arnold Arena, pouring that pad, making sure it's ready when the air conditioner comes in. For the business office, we're kind of the norm right now. The only thing unusual is doing 1098Ts for students. And I believe all of that was finished today, and we'll test it with a few students tomorrow before we tell everybody. That has to be out. It's a tax form
Oh, okay.
for students, has to be out by the end of the month, so we're a little ahead on that. 1099s, we're planning on printing tomorrow and mailing those. That way, if we get that big winter storm, we're done and met all our guidelines. So that's our big project tomorrow. Beginning to look at budget, talked with Alicia and admin team today about some of that before electricity went out, but beginning to look at that. The cafeteria, it is coming along. We got some of our meal work in yesterday or last week, sorry, not yesterday, last week. So that's kind of nice to see where that new fountain location and all of that type of breakfast items and that type of thing's gonna go. You really are beginning to see how it's going to look. They start the second phase of that, which is the kitchen area, sometime mid to late February. That timeline, we gotta give Great Western Dining and us some time to figure out just how we're gonna feed students and occupy.
I wondered how that was.
Yeah, that's part of it. Yeah. But then by the end of the semester, June, I think we should be pretty close to done and it looked really nice. Coffee shop opened with limited stuff last week. But we do now have the point of sale system where we can begin to train on that Wednesday and use it. The pizza ovens have come in, I believe, and hopefully we've got that electricity going. And so it's kind of like Adam said, a little bit of a slow start there, but I think in a couple, 3 weeks, we'll have it all up and going and everything's usable.
Who's gonna run that?
Great Western Dining is,
Okay.
and they've chosen one of their employees that's really good with students and I've been over there 1 or 2 days, but I think he's really gonna make a difference in how that is received.
Good.
Yeah.
He's very welcoming and, you know,
Yeah.
goes out and talks to him, brings them in. He's doing a really good job.
Good. Yeah. IT has a bunch of stuff going on there. Some of it is still ongoing, but a lot of it is completed. Probably their biggest projects this last month was while the students, since they left in after Thanksgiving, they were able to get into some classrooms and do that extra updates and that type of thing, some lab computers, some John Deere computers. I think they were up at Paola. Weren't you been and updated some computers up there in the lab and just a lot of stuff that is very easy to do and some of their projects that Jason has marked in progress. I think, oh yeah, but you're only one little step away. So it's very much far down the line and it's just waiting on a couple of things. So they've done a lot of stuff. And they've also been involved with the cafeteria and the point of sale for the coffee shop. That was a big project, I know, last week. So a lot of things going on there. After that, you know, the bookstore, I think the distribution of books went well. We were able to manage that pretty much, I think, on track. We had one hiccup, but we got that fixed. And so overall, a good start of the semester for everybody in our area anyway, and working with students and projects and that type of thing. Any questions?
Julie, I apologize if you mentioned this earlier, if it was discussed earlier. Do you have a time frame on the Garrison apartments or do you know?
Oh, I forgot to mention that. Alicia told me to remember that, and I forgot it. We did. The remediation is done. Service master came in and cleaned and removed water and knocked out ceilings and the whole thing. Jared and I did publish an RFP. It should have gone in the Saturday paper and this coming Wednesday paper for restoration. Our hope, and that's why we kind of pushed it along, is to have those apartments done by August when the students come back again. I know that's pushing it, but we did publish an RFP, kind of working with the insurance as to what they require or what they will pay for. And probably review some of those bids. The RFP in the paper is very minimal in description. It basically says get with Jared Keelong, and they are required to walk through the facility so they know what they're dealing with. We have a list of what we want done in each apartment, what needs to be done, because the upper floors are different than the lower floors that receive more water damage. And so that will be given to them. And then hopefully we bring back a proposal for you to approve next month. That's the plan. That and at least a partial list of fees and charges, student fees and charges for the board meeting.
So where are these displaced students housed now?
Tom can tell you better than I can.
But as part of my report on there, we really had to work to be able to see where exactly we were gonna have some holes. And so we were able to move some kids from, because Garrison is all females. And then you got Blue Hall, which is co-ed, there's some in there, but then Greyhound is all males. And so we had to move some kids, male students out of Blue Hall into Greyhound to make some room for the girls that needed to move over. And we were able to fill a couple beds in existing apartments over there. They're teammates of the kids who got displaced. And so we were able to get them where they needed to be. Some of them were actually kind of happy to move into Blue Hall because the meal plan and it's different, and just get out of that apartment life a little bit. But most of them were kind of upset. A lot of them lost some stuff as far as that. And so thanks to Marcy Myers for going over there when we were closed and keeping a really detailed list of everything that was damaged, taking a lot of pictures. working with the students, working on where they're gonna go, and also what they lost, and so we can have that covered by insurance as well. And so all of that was done while we were closed, and so I appreciated her and Jared to take some extra time, out of the break to be able to get all those students taken care of.
Anything else, Bob?
Oh, geez. I've got a report in here as well. This is my first month working with a lot of Janet's area, and so I'm happy to say that, she had everything working as a well-oiled machine over there, and so everything's working well. Advising obviously was busy with enrollment the last couple of weeks. Trio is still taking application for students, but they're currently serving 141 kids, which I think is pretty excellent. And so they've got a couple of things that they have set up for them throughout the next semester, being able to take them to trips. I think they're going to Arrowhead once, and I can't remember where their other one is. But let's see, admissions is out and taking student tours. Going to different high schools. We did lose an admissions rep during the break. And so what we've done so far is take some assistant coaches to fill that need. And so that seems to be working pretty well in the first week that we've tried it. Not only gives us a couple more recruiters that have experience in that area, but also gives some of our lower paid employees an opportunity to be able to make a little bit of extra money by helping us out. So I think it'll be a benefit in multiple departments, trying to be able to get some of those coaches in there at least for the spring, because it'd be very difficult for us to find admissions rep at this point to be able to come in. And so they've been very busy. They've sent out 6,522 text messages since the beginning of the school year. And let's see. I'm sure Alicia will go through with some of the foundation stuff because we received a donation for more improvements down at City Tech. And then while Luke is in here, I wanted to give a shout out to a couple of the teams. Spring semester goes by so quick because everybody on campus is involved in all of their sports and activities and everything. So it's an exciting time. It goes really quick. Basketball teams are in their conference season. The guys are 2-1 in conference and took down the Neosho Feral Cats this last weekend. So we were happy about that.
That's what I call it.
I used to be a Neosho County. That's where I started my coaching career. And then the track team went down to Pitt State and competed in a NAI JUCO showcase. And both the men and the women team won pretty handedly down there. I think the women won by 30 points and the men by like 40. So they look like they're going to be something to deal with this year. And men and women will both play their conference games usually on Wednesdays and Saturdays now until the end of the season. So they're fun to watch. So get some tickets and go out there. That's it. Unless you guys have any questions.
Would you want to just talk just really briefly about the desk audit? We're finishing up this week.
The OCR. And so we received a Office of Civil Rights audit on some CTEC programs. And so Ashley Keelan has been leading the charge on that. It's a non-punitive, that's what you want to say. And so it digs us into some of the things with non-discrimination, equal equity and all that type of thing within all of our housing, all of our CTEC programs, a lot of our facilities. It has been pretty labor intensive with the team that Ashley was able to put together. But it's a lot of information, but all of it comes good because it really allows us to dig into some of the things that we probably need to be looking into to make sure that our programs and facilities accommodate everybody. And so that's due this Thursday, correct? And Friday. And so then Ashley has been kind of tasked with being able to keep us all organized and make sure that she's setting deadlines that we're hitting, and she's done a great job with that. And I think we're on track to be able to submit everything that we need to Kansas Board of Regents.
Is this Title IX?
No, it's not. No, it kind of, it's close with that type of stuff, but this is more of a Kansas Board of Regents desk audit.
Request or something?
Yeah,
It's
kind of a desk audit.
yeah, and basically the Board of Regents, they look around and say, okay. Different colleges each year need to look and make sure that they are meeting the criteria and the guidelines. When we publish something or anything that has to do with disabilities, or making sure that we put on every piece of information that we put out there, the disclaimer about non-discrimination. And so it's really like a self-study, which I think when we looked the last time Fort Scott Community College had done a desk audit was when?
86, 87,
Yeah, it was.
85, so it would be somewhere in there.
Yeah.
They choose two colleges, they choose two colleges every year, and the length of time between your previous one is part of the indicators that show you need another one. So two colleges are chosen every year. Apparently, we slipped through the cracks once or twice, so.
But it has
Not much
been
changed since 86.
pretty labor intensive. Yeah. And Ashley, of course, has made Jared pull a bunch of stuff, which I think is when she was talking about, I got tickled the paperwork because Jared, of course, and Ashley are married. And so she's had to boss him around about, no, I have to have this information about, you know, whether we're meeting the disabilities or the ADA criteria on, you know, whether a door, you know, the weight of the door push, you know, we have a couple places we need to fix concrete. So, you know, it is a bit like a self-study. It's not like we're gonna say that, yes, we do all of these things. So in some places, we're saying, hey, this is an area we identified that we are deficient in, and so this is our plan to move forward. And that's what they want to see, and that's what we want to know. You know, where do we need to make those kinds of corrections? And so I think it's been a good process. It's been a pretty labor intensive process. Thankfully, I didn't have to do that much, so. But it's been, like I said, it's been good to always kind of take a look at that kind of thing, so.
Yeah, any questions?
Did I see something about cheer team?
Yes, and they're going national.
Is that,
Maybe,
Yeah, they're going to nationals, April 5th through the 8th or 9th. I think it's the 8th. They're gonna take about 30 people in a small co-ed and they're gonna go compete. There's a lot of teams. It's in Daytona Beach, Florida. They're starting to fundraise for that and everything else. It's not cheap to go down there, but it's a lot of fun. They did really well last year. So, we're excited.
me. Well, just to start, again, I know I say this always, but it really is, for me, rewarding to get to work with all of you, and certainly my faculty and staff. Just the talent and passion that folks have, I think, like I said, really is paying off. And I think that, you know, when we have an issue, I have several people that are willing to kick in and see what we can do to make that better. And so I appreciate that. I know it takes a lot of time and effort on everybody's part. So thank you again to all of you. It really does take all of us to be able to lift this ship. And so it is rewarding. When you look at our enrollment, we are harshly down from 2019, which was, of course, before COVID. We are up compared to the last two semesters at this time, but remember that we won't really know how enrollment goes until it kind of just all settles out, till we have late start classes. So we really don't know exactly where we're at, probably into March. And so by the time you have those late start classes start, people drop out, that kind of thing. It looks encouraging in the terms of we're up from 2021, we're up from 2022, but whether that will hold or not, I do not know. It's definitely nothing like it was in 2019. We're down pretty sharply from 2019, so the pre-COVID. We have come back though We are, for instance, in 2021, we still had football, so those football students have still been enrolled and we're above that, so we have overcome, you know, that particular enrollment decrease that we would have seen. Just,
Ask a question about
Sure.
membership.
uh-huh.
Do you take, I mean, I assume that some external factors like just the job market and the way wages are right now, just the demand for people without any advanced education or training probably impacts the enrollment level. I mean, is that,
I think you're exactly right. We're typically inversely related to the economy.
okay, yeah,
So if you can, it's really is hard for us to show students the benefits of higher education. If literally I can go start a job at $20 to $25 an hour with no training. You know, so it really is hard for us. What you have to do is try to remember that, you know, but you're right, at the beginning, it probably isn't going to get you an elevated salary, but in the end, it is going to give you the ability to move up and to, of course, advance through your lifetime a great deal. I say that we have to make sure that place still matters. And I think that that's an important thing that we talk about a lot, because for me, we have to make this place matter for our students. There's so many opportunities now to do things online. They were telling me at the cable retreat last week that there's over 100 and some schools in the state of Kansas that have the approval to offer online education. And that's just schools. You can still get, you know, the scariest thing is I can get certificates or pieces of education off of Amazon. What's the other one?
Coursera.
Yeah, Coursera. I mean, there's all these things that we're competing against, but you're right. And then, of course, we're seeing a decline in enrollment, a decline in population in the state of Kansas, fewer and fewer students graduating from high school. There is a population that we have trouble tapping into, though, that I think we need to, and those are our non-traditional students. How do you get those people that are already in the work environment that need to either improve their skills, come back to school? How do you get those? It's really hard to do unless literally, because they still have to pay bills, so they can't quit their job. So that's one of the things that we tried to work this CDL program around. We can do that around a working schedule. But we still miss a lot of those people. We've never really figured that out. We need to do better at that. I don't know how to do better, but we need to do better.
Can I jump in
Sure.
just a second? And that's something that we've talked a lot about is, you know, CDL or mentioning the heavy equipment thing with the county. That doesn't count toward our credit hours, but there's still students we're training. We're still getting some funding for them, but it doesn't show up in those credit hour reports. So it is a benefit that doesn't necessarily show statistics.
right.
But you're exactly right. I don't. It's not an excuse, but we're certainly not the only people in the nation and the state that are struggling with
Yeah,
enrollment.
it's endemic, I think, the whole.
But that doesn't excuse us from, I mean, one of the, now that you bring it up, kind of an interesting point. I was at the cable retreat, as you guys know, on Thursday. And so it is a nice opportunity to have some input on some things. And so we were talking about enrollment, and the biggest problem is the way the state funds us. There's never, I mean, we cannot indefinitely grow enrollment to get more money. You just can't do that. Nobody can.
Right.
So we've got to look at a funding model that's not based on enrollment. You've got to look at a funding model that's more of a block grant based on your capability, I hate to say it, to either retain completers. For us, though, completers can't be, did I graduate? Because we have people that come to us that their goal is literally one class of their skills. I don't know what it looks like, but we've got to change the way we're funded, because what we see is just a constant decrease in funding at the state level. And so it was nice to be able to have an opportunity to have some input with the regions on that. We're funded differently than the universities are. They're block funded. But that block funding is increased every year. We were running off of a block fund that was supposed to be by the student, meaning that we were still funded on levels from 2008 of the number of students we had then. So it's a really convoluted process, but in my humble opinion, the legislators are gonna have to look at the funding. We did have a chance to talk with a few legislators Wednesday morning. We had a coffee up there at Topeka at the Capitol, and I did catch a couple of our legislators, but they were having a Republican caucus across the street. And of course, in Kansas, that's the majority of our representatives, so it was kind of hard to catch it. But anyway, so there's a lot to, as you all know, the funding streams, the funding model, and to me, at some point, they're really going to have to take a hard look at that. We're not going to be able to maintain or sustain some of the things that we do. Just a little bit about the congressionally directed grant. We talked a little bit about that, and so like I said, that 385,000 we're happy about. To his point, just real quickly too, we talked about the Gen Ed core. I'm really proud of that. We've worked really hard. I think that it's really important for us to always think about what benefits students and what benefits community. Those are the two things that we're here for. So we have to be careful in making sure that any collaboration, cooperations, those things that we do really is a benefit to students. We have talked some about, doing some collaborations with different schools. It's got to be everybody benefits, or otherwise it's going to end in a kind of ugly divorce. And so, we're working hard on some of those types of collaborations. I think the Gen Ed is a really good thing for students. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and the Lumina Foundation will all tell you that if students can transfer their Gen Ed core or transfer an associate degree into a program, the university is going to benefit because those students are retained at a much higher rate and they graduate at a much higher rate. And the students benefit because they stay, actually complete the degree, and the taxpayers win because they didn't have to step back when they go to KU or K-State and take a bunch of freshman and sophomore level classes again, because those folks have a different Gen Ed core than everybody else. And so we have literally been working on that since I remember, when we talk about transfer and articulation group. And so to implement that, I think, is one of the most exciting things that's happened in the state in a long time. And it has been a long time coming and a lot of talking. And it is nice to see that the regions are behind that, and they really did push that through, because I can tell you that if it was just that kind of change has to be intentional. Those intentional changes you have to really push for, because you can put it out there, but it just is kind of, waffly, and nothing ever gets done. It was kind of interesting. I had an opportunity to sit with the chancellor of KU, and right before Christmas, I have a friend, has a ranch out in New Mexico, very successful artist actually. And he maybe once in a while in my office, you'll have to see some of the work that he's done. But anyway, when he and I were at K-State, and this is kind of a funny story, I hope the statute of limitations has run out, but anyway, he could not make it through college algebra. He could not make it through college algebra. So he and I made a deal where I helped him through college algebra, which was a mess because you had to enroll in the lecture, the recitation, the test time, and you had to get everything the same, and you had to sit by me, you had to pay attention to be like, I said the answer is this. But anyway, thank God he made it through, got his degree. Sorry, Robert. Anyway, but he sent me this message that said, hey, I see where KU is thinking about dropping college algebra, like math pathways, and allowing people to take a math course that is more related, like statistics, or what they're going to call quantitative reasoning, which is so true. It makes so much sense. Of course, I laughed at him. I'm like, yeah, you would have fit in really well with those KU folks. I'm like, I don't think you'd ever be in jail. Whatever. So anyway, but I shared that with the chancellor of KU, and he thought that was, it was a really nice story. No, you really, I'm happy that KU is kind of taking the lead on that and saying, you know what? You don't have to have college algebra unless you're a STEM major. Now, Robert, your folks do. But unless you're a STEM major, you don't really need that. So it's kind of fun to see some of these things coming to fruition, as they say, that we've been working on for so long. And that's kind of a funny story about, you can make it without having to do that. He made it through, but just barely. We did get a $10,000 check from Muller Construction. We've gotten some money from Mark before. Mark actually judged up here in 77, 78 and 79 for Gary Harvey. He's a good friend of my family's, and he's given us money before. And they're just really good people. He does some consulting for us. Chris can call him at any time, and they're just good folks, and it's nice to have those sort of people at alum. And so if I need something, I can usually give him a call, and he will step up for us. Perkins Reserve Grant, we did get, what they have is the state sets aside money every year that you can apply for in a separate grant. And so we got, really, this is Jacob and Ralph and Adam, got $45,000 where we will be, and Chris, adding some welding booths for skilled workforce. So appreciated that. You knew about the broken water pipes, and that was a mess over there. And anyway, and of course, the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. celebration was an amazing celebration, and Kirk does a really nice job at that. He's always got something that he's getting ready to do. He's on it all the time. And so he had a lot of participation, and I think he felt pretty rewarded by all of that. So I'm sure I'm missing things, but I'll be happy to answer questions if you have any.
I don't have any questions, but I might make a comment because this kind of falls into your time, because you were involved in some of these visioning things we had through Bourbon County Ready. We sat through, since I was silly enough to take Jim's spot on the Ready board, we had a board retreat, and Ready had commissioned a housing study, a workforce study, and a retail study for the county. And we got those back and kind of went through them. And I think it would be beneficial to have Rob come and present both the workforce and housing in particular, because the college factors in a pretty big way on how we're going to meet some of the objectives that were outlined. I thought it was good stuff. I mean, some of the, construction and trades programs that you guys are already working on, I mean, all that. It's definitely going to be beneficial, I believe. So, and it shows what an asset the college is for our community, and will help us grow and remain competitive with the counties around us and in our region.
Would you mind, John, if you can reach out to Rob and ask him when would be a good time? And then
Absolutely.
get hold of us, and we can put him on the agenda, because I do think it's important that we have those kinds of reports and updates. So I appreciate
That'd be
bringing
good.
it up.
Yeah.
It was 6 hours, Jim. Just not that I was keeping track.
6 hours I would get back.
6 hours I didn't.
I absorbed it.
Anything else?
Just a quick story.
Sure.
I received a letter this weekend from a student where I used to work, and it's kind of commented on what students do, what they have to do. And she indicated she's a single mother, single mom. She has 4 boys, and she was thanking me for the scholarship that she was able to receive there. And she's doing that, going to school, which is a pretty tough program. Because it requires a heck of a lot of clinical hours. She's going to school full time. She'll graduate this year. And she just wants her boys to know what it takes to lead a program like that. So she's setting the example. And I admire these folks who do that kind of thing, because it is not easy being a single parent, having boys. And spending the amount of time in a program requires just a heck of a lot of time to do that. And in a few months, she's graduating. She's looking forward to being able to look, share her experience with others and to pay it forward. She wants to do that as well, so.
Especially setting an example for her sons too.
Setting an example for her sons, yeah. She's setting an example for anybody, but that's, it's pretty much admirable that it happens. So those things happen and it's just tremendous.
And it wouldn't have without the scholarship.
It
that
would
you
not have
took.
happened without the scholarship that she received, or it made it easier, I should say, for her to complete that program. So this is what we're all about.
It is. I think one of the most. What the thing that I'm the most passionate about is we are really good at some things. One of the things we're really good at is really busting generational poverty. We can move people into the middle class and make their life better, their families' lives better, set a wonderful example, and it's better for the community, it's better for the state, it's better for the nation, it lifts us all. And it's one of the things that we really try to drive home at the Board of Regents too. We don't have road scholars a lot of times, but it's those individual stories that we need to be better at telling. That success is relative to where people start, like that. That's an amazing success story. It shows the work ethic of that individual, and it shows that, you know, they've got that drive and initiative and really what we used to call gumption, you know, to get it done. But what we do is we try to remove hurdles and provide opportunities. And so that removing the hurdles and providing opportunities for our students, I think is what we're all passionate about. And that's a cool story. So.
Anything else? Will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Got moved and seconded.
I don't know, mother.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Thank everybody for being here tonight, really.
I'm trying to get.